This process started back in January. We've had the support of Wichita State University in developing a survey instrument that asks people, registered voters in Wichita and Sedgwick County, about issues affecting us in the next 20 years and setting priorities for action. So the surveys went out in the end of January of this year. 25,000 surveys went out to registered voters. We had about 4,100 surveys come back. That's a response rate of about 16%, which in the statistical analysis world is pretty good. But we've been telling people right from the beginning, the survey is not the answer, it's just the beginning of the community discussion. And that's why this next round of community engagement is important, because the City Council wishes to hear from the community as they deliberate about future courses of action for the future. So that's why we're here, making decisions, taking actions. Hopefully we'll be concluding our initiative at the end of February. There'll be a report that will be presented to City Council. So the agenda for tonight is we're going to quickly go through a brainstorm about what you would like to see this community look like 10 years from now. What are some of the priorities that our City Council should be considering in taking action? We'll talk about some of the highlights from that survey I mentioned earlier. And then we're going to take you through an exercise of prioritizing decision making. We're going to share some financial information with you. And we'll have some electronic polling here that we're going to take you through. You can see the results of that with these clickers that we've got. And that's pretty much it. So, next slide. Okay, yeah, we're just facilitators. Troy and I have no vested agenda here. We're taking you through a process. Next slide. Ground rules. I think Susan indicated you already have your own set of ground rules. It seem to be similar to what we've got here. So let's move forward here. The important thing here is, as we discuss, we have to think about what's good for the community, not necessarily what's good for you as an individual. So as you respond to in our dialogue here, always frame it in the context of what's good for Wichita rather than what's good for me. Okay. So I'm going to have Troy come up here. He's going to be scribe. And
okay, the spelling pressure's on now, Troy.
Yeah. So the question is, and we're just going to kind of open it up. In 10 years, how do you want to describe the city of Wichita? Particularly in the context of the next generation or your kids. Because it's really their future we're talking about.
Streets in great shape.
Okay, streets in great shape. Yes, sir.
Financial responsibility. I want them to pay as they go and not rack up debt.
Okay, user pay as you go, is that what you're saying?
I'm saying the city doesn't need any more debt. So they need to make sure that they're paying instead of racking
up
debt.
Debt-free expenditures, is that right? Is that a good way of putting it?
Yeah, I think that's what you're
Let's
saying.
put it this way. Every time they do a project, they fund it with debt.
Uh-huh.
And generally, they don't get enough revenue to pay the debt.
Okay, pay as you go, debt-free. Let's just move around the room here. I saw a lady back.
Well, I was just going to say to be financially accountable and stable. The finances accountable.
As a community. Yeah, moving across, yes ma'am.
Water.
Long-term water supply?
Yeah.
Okay. That's important, I guess. I'm moving to my right here. Anyone else want to share?
Yeah, I think that the first thing to talk about is the principles under which the city operates. I'm seeing a real lack of focus in the city council. They're dealing with everything as if Pizza Hut could make airplanes, the same kind of logic. They want to bring in businesses by providing special incentives to one or another business, picking the winner and thereby picking the loser. I'd like to see the city focus on the things that only a city government is authorized to do. And I'll give a couple of examples of that. We have a problem with crime. Now, the city's solution to the problem downtown with crime is to give different businesses special incentives to locate downtown. I think if we solve the problem with crime downtown, which is something that only the city can do, we might have more businesses going downtown. We have a horrible smell down on Pawnee and the canal route. No city, no business is going to locate there. It's a sewer, and we know that, and it's not being treated. But that's something the city can do, but no private individual can do. So let's ask the city just to first focus on basic city services, infrastructure, so that that's the kind of town that will bring in the businesses and grow jobs and provide an excellent environment for people here and businesses. That's my first priority. The principles are cities should be doing things that only the city can do.
Okay.
And if they aren't finished with those, they should go back to item number 1, which is do the things that only the city can do.
Troy, you want to write that down? Do the things that only the city can do. I think that's important.
Focus on that.
Yes, okay.
Be mindful, you're saying kind of be mindful of the role of government.
Exactly. Understand the basic role of government.
Okay. Yeah, no, it's good. I think we've captured your point. I'm going to start here again. I'm going to work from left to right. Anyone brainstorm any ideas? How do you want to describe our community? What, did I miss somebody back here?
One in the corner, and I think eight.
Sorry.
Okay, the city has done some work on expanding the ability to go around the town without using a car, such as bicycle paths, bike lanes in the city streets and stuff, and I would like to commend them on that. But there's a lot more that could be done, number one. And number two, there's a whole bunch of people out there that have absolutely no idea what the legal requirements are driving on a street with a bicycle lane. They park in the bike lane, they drive in the bike lane, they're not allowing that, number one. And then number two, you go down here to College Hill on 1st and 2nd Street in the afternoon or early evening, and everybody's using the bike lane to walk. So you can't use it as a bicyclist. There's a sidewalk right beside it, but they're using the bike lane, which should be dedicated to bicyclists, as a walking lane.
But, sir, if I say a more bicycle-friendly community, would that capture kind
And
of...
education to go with
That
it.
and the education part.
Okay.
And can I,
Bike-friendly community, bike-friendly.
can I say something on that? Not to say you shouldn't be able to ride a bicycle at all, or have bike lanes or whatever, but in the last several weeks, we've encountered, when we're driving early in the morning, for instance, cyclists who are riding in the shadows, all in black. And that's an accident waiting to happen. So the education needs to be on both sides.
Right. That should be
It
covered
needs to be
under
a
the
two-way
education
street.
part, correct.
Okay. John?
Right now, we have a very serious problem with animal control. We worked this out years ago, and now we have a runaway. The dog bites for the letter carriers has doubled since 2012. And that's not acceptable to the Postal Service, so they're going to start making people receive their mail in a different way than they are now if this can't get fixed.
Okay,
So this is one of those little nitty-gritty kind of things, but it's a government responsibility and needs to be dealt with.
So are we saying enhance animal control?
Animal control has to be enhanced so that you don't have people letting their dog get loose and bite the carrier, and then everybody on that block or for a 2-block area loses their postal services. That's not fair and right to those that live next door to the guy who has the dog that's out of control.
And the federal government controls the mail, but the city controls the animal control.
Sure. Okay, that's good. Let's keep going. Yes, ma'am.
I would like in the future to be able to say that Wichita is an abortion-free community.
Okay. Put that down. Okay, I'm moving right to left here. Pop up your hand, sir. Yes, sir.
The city could also, I think it's been touched on a little bit there, one of the subjects is stopping the pay to play. Like the city seems to have certain people that all they do is build stuff for the city. They really don't go out for bids. We used to have three companies that did street paving in this city. We're down to one.
Okay.
And that company don't have to bid for it. And same way with the building, buildings around the Wichita area for the city, puts out money, and it's always the same contractor gets the same That's not big, that's just picking my friends and giving them all.
No
the-
special favors to
No
industry.
special favors.
Maybe you need to couch it in terms
Let's
of,
put that in the positive.
let's couch it in the terms of improve the procurement process to make it more transparent.
Well, part of the guidelines that the city already has written down, which include non-conflict of interest provisions. But the city manager just said, oh, that's just a good idea, but not something that we should enforce.
I'd like to have a city website that works at least as well as the old one did. A lot of information is missing.
Okay, well, let's put this in a positive.
I agree. More transparent.
Transparent communication.
Yeah.
Well, I think efficient or effective, I think is
Effective, accessible, what are the adjectives here? Accessible,
Well, just, I don't know how to put it, but I mean, Wichita, for example, is probably one of the few governmental bodies of any type that doesn't automatically put its check register online each month like the county does, the city, the school district does. Most places do. Wichita, I mean, that's not even thought of these days.
yeah, but I think it's more than just accountability, you're talking.
Operations in the sunshine.
Details.
You got it.
Financial details, transparent, respectful.
Transparent and
Technological
accessible.
accessibility.
You're talking about accessibility here too, aren't you?
Accessible financial details is what Bob's talking about.
Enhanced communication.
Incomplete.
Okay, and enhanced, let's put down enhanced communication with community, right?
But could we, I think we need to honor what Bob said by tying that to the website, because I don't want that
You don't want the web piece
piece,
going?
I don't want that to get left, because all the documents didn't make it over, and there's no list anymore. So you have to know something exists to go find it, otherwise you're never gonna accidentally find it, if that makes sense.
And remember the My Wichita email service, you could sign up, and every day when there's new agendas, new minutes, new planning boards,
These are all elements of more transparency.
Yes,
So-
they are.
Yeah, John?
Grow the economy with stabilized or lower taxes and less regulation.
Okay.
Would that increase jobs?
Yes.
Okay, so lower taxes and decreased regulation on the part of the city. Is that right?
Yeah, well, I think it's the, central inspection is part of the city, it's part of the city.
Yeah.
Runs central inspection,
Yeah.
and central inspection has the highest red tape in our area. Contractors are actually going and getting licensed and stuff in Butler and Harvey and stuff, and then coming back and doing business in Wichita under an outside license and things, because the red tape is too strict here in the Wichita city area.
Okay.
I'm hearing so regulation reform.
Is that? Yes.
How about eliminating regulations?
Well, it's more than that. I think it's reduce regulation.
Reduction is an important word here.
I think we've got to record it the way it was said. Yes, sir.
How about the city council think about 2014 when Boeing locks its doors for the last time? And all these people that's out there are going to be late. Not everybody's going to go move into Oklahoma City. There's going to be quite a few people going to be without jobs. That's the tax base you're going to be losing.
Right, so how do you want it, what do you want it to be? What do we-
Increased manufacturing,
Increase manufacturing, get the jobs back in here.
Okay.
because it's not going to be
You
a
gotta
service
replace both.
industry, it needs to be a manufacturing industry.
Somewhere along the line, somebody's going to have to replace those jobs.
You see, the lower taxes and less regulation creates an environment that will allow grassroots businesses to grow. The growth in business or in jobs is done on the small companies, not the large. So if you provide the atmosphere for small companies to excel, less taxes, less regulation, then you'll see an upward movement. You almost always grow your economy 100% opposite of what the normal status quo would think, and particularly.
Okay, we got a comment from this lady over here.
I wish the city council would lose their focus that the city develop downtown. That downtown has to make it, or Wichita is a total broke economy.
Okay, so less Are you saying
less-
less government support of downtown redevelopment?
Let's focus on.
Right, let's focus that, right now,
Share a little with the rest of the
the-
town.
the end justifies the means, and they seem to be totally focused on downtown. Somehow they gotta get people, they think they know better, and people have to live downtown, they have to do these things downtown. We have to get federal grants, less reliance on federal and state monies. And then these excess expenditures that aren't basic infrastructure.
Okay, I saw a couple other hands here. Matt?
Well, in regard to the Boeing exit, I think people need to go back and understand why Boeing left Wichita. There were other divisions of Boeing that could do the same job cheaper. They need to understand why that happened, and I think we're beginning to see some of that. Because what Spirit did when they took over the Boeing work effectively, the manufacturing part of it, most of it, is they're laying off the top-heavy bureaucracy on top of it. And they're hiring guys that are bucking rivets. But they're getting rid of the bureaucracy. And I think there's a lesson there for any organization in town over 10 people, including the city.
Okay, we'll put it, what are you really saying here, Matt?
I'm saying is they need to go back and look at their bureaucracy and streamline their departments, even more than what they are now.
You're talking city government?
City government.
Oh, okay.
So streamline bureaucracy?
Streamline city government.
And that goes along with everything else that's going on in the OCI and everywhere else. This room is a spawning ground for another organization that deals with OCI on a kind of regular basis. And there's some interesting facts out there.
Okay, Bob, and then
This will be a small thing, but I think that it's very revealing of an attitude in Wichita City Hall, and that was a few years ago when the parking garage was closed to the public.
okay, so in terms of vision, what do you see?
You know, I think realize that it's the people's City Hall, and you know, it's also very difficult to get in City Hall too. I mean, you have to go through airport-style security just to get in City Hall.
Be more inviting to citizens.
Physically more inviting city hall, is that what you're saying?
I think, you know, the security is one thing,
more
but the
accessible.
fact that the city manager decided, you know, it's
Physically
more
more
important for city employees to park in the garage than for the people. I think that's just a attitude problem.
Okay, this gentleman had a comment, and there was somebody over there.
I'd like to shorten the planning period to, instead of an open-ended planning, for planning for development. You know, like I put in a simple little mini storage. It took me 6 weeks to get it through the city. I could have done the same thing in 3 days in Park City, 2 days in Derby.
Accelerated development approval process, is that kind of what you're saying?
Yeah. I mean, that turns, I know for a fact that has turned several people off of doing projects in the city just because of the development time that they'd have to spend getting things through the city.
Okay. All right, there's somebody over, John, and then John.
I'm getting a little tired of seeing David Wells, David Burke, and Bill Warren, and the other guy, and a couple others, being our only people who are in on economic development. It's time for us to invite new people from California that have an industry they need to move. The taxes are terribly high out there, and these people are moving to Texas and other lower tax states, and we have things that these folks could get in on, like a good labor force and cheap housing for their employees, and we need to spread that word rather than just spending all this money on trying to build up something that none of us in here probably will use downtown.
So a broader pool of investors and developers.
Yes. Yes.
Expanded economic development participation?
Yes. Not exactly that way. What I'm wanting to do is bring new industry to Wichita. Somebody to take Boeing's place. Whatever it is we're capable of doing, that needs to be brochured and sold in the Wall Street Journal or in the places where people find out about communities, whether it's the internet or
You can attract some better investors than the Minnesota guys. That's
yeah, a whole lot better than the Minnesota
Broader
guys.
investment in our community.
Yes, yes,
I
yes.
was trying to.
People that bring the money to us that we don't have to fund them.
Eliminate cronyism.
There it is in a nutshell.
That does it.
We got the chamber, we got GWDC, we got all these, we got visioneering. All those people are trying to do the same job in my eyes.
Right, they're
That's part of
overlapping.
streamlining bureaucracy, yeah.
Well, again, but part of it's private, part of it's, and the ordinary guy doesn't know the difference. But what I'm saying is, they need to have a little score, they need to get rid of a nice big sign out here that says, okay, we talked to how many companies this year? And tell us what the number is. And how many were successful, how many weren't? Tell us what the number is. In other words, be able to benchmark their progress, because they're getting some of our money to do that. I know one time when Beach was still Beach, they were out there looking, and marketing came in there and said, we had every contact in the world that was looking at an airplane, and we contacted them and talked to them. Now, they didn't get maybe 3% of them, but they talked to every one of them, and I was pretty proud of that, because that at least said they were trying. Now, I don't know what the city's doing, because you can't tell how many they've talked to.
Okay, Max, are you saying benchmarking, economic development? I'm just trying to simplify this.
I think Max is saying, give us the full story on economic development.
And
At
if
least you
an,
mentioned benchmarks.
if
Well-
an industry should decline, find out why and act on that if it's at all possible. What was your reason for
Yeah,
declining?
That doesn't need to be public. But what needs to be public is how many did they talk to and how many, what's the score of how many got here and how many didn't? Now, you're right. They need to do that internally to learn what to do for the next time around. We come in there one time, we asked a bunch of owner pilots what they wanted in an airplane. We were making an entry-level airplane. The 747 wouldn't have hauled all the stuff they wanted in that airplane. We asked them the wrong question. So what my question is, are these people asking the right question down at the bare bones level? I asked Harvey Sorensen one time, he was the co-chairman of Visioneering. I says, what's the definition of economic development? He said, get their money before they get ours. I asked a bunch of politicians that same thing, and I was there over an hour. And I got a lot of fluff, but no, I didn't have any ice cream on the bottom.
Max, are you okay if we say more effective economic development?
Well, with benchmarking that's available to the public. Let's tell me what the chamber's doing. How many have they contacted this year? Tell me how many GWDC's contacted.
Okay, where do I start? I'm gonna move from left to right.
How many cows are in the
Okay,
pen?
when they do these surveys, such as this whole thing's based off, we need to have I'm sorry, that you started with. It's not a credible survey, it's not a fair survey. They have WSU, they fund them, and this isn't much different than another survey. They didn't work very hard. The questions are so that you cannot get your opinion out. There's not a box that says other or not applicable. There are leading questions, so you can never come to any end result except what they're leading you towards.
Okay, but we're looking at next 10 years. So
Well, I'm saying that every time we put up some new idea, they say the public wants, the community says, and it comes down to the same 100 or 300 people they know will nod their head to what they want. And this survey, I tried to take it. It was impossible to get a real opinion out there. It was
the right process. So are you saying more effective community engagement?
more effective surveys. If they're going to pay for something, let them put their opinion on there. Do an essay style of answer.
At least an other and fill in the.
Neutralizes the survey. Survey was
I
slanted.
mean,
Talking more effective.
the questions were very, there's some of them on this paper here. It says, do you want a city that's, more recreational, it has fun things? Do you think it adds to the quality of your life to have parks and things? Well, yeah, who's going to say no? But that should say, yeah, I need more. They don't ever follow it up with another question. What do you think we need more? And where do you think this money's coming? Or is there a priority?
That's part of the reason why we're here tonight, is to move forward, move it up, move it.
Right, but the initial survey was skewed. We need those skewed surveys.
Okay, yes, sir.
Where did you get the estimates on these dollar amounts?
Dollars? They got dollars?
We're focusing on the vision.
No, I mean, where did they get them? I don't think they're realistic.
Well, we'll talk about that one when I review that, okay?
Kind of hard to make a plan if you're not going to be realistic to start with.
Okay, well, we'll hold that when we get to that part of my presentation. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, backing up to where you said, you wrote down our comments as broader investment. I can't really read the rest of it.
Broader investment pool, minimize cronyism, eliminate.
Okay, I have a little problem with the broader investment. I think we need to target the investment better than it has been, not necessarily broader. It isn't more money. We need to spend the money more wisely than we've been spending it. It's like the schools. We keep saying more money will cure it.
So are you saying?
It's a broader pool of investors.
Investors, not
We investors, not investor,
Right.
investment, yeah. We were talking about bringing people in from the outside to manufacturing and so on. We're not saying we want to give more investment to these few businesses who've already been giving. We need to get more people into the investment pool.
Okay, John's hand is
Election of municipal court judges. Currently, municipal court judges are appointed by the city council. They need to be elected by the people.
Oh, I see what you're saying, okay.
City council elections need to be partisan, and they need to be moved to the fall. The infrastructure, streets, sewer, water, should be paid out of current capital improvement budgets. And leave economic development to the private sector.
Absolutely.
Okay, so no private-public partnerships is the kind of.
Correct.
Okay, well, because I heard someone say more effective private-public partnerships, but you're saying none.
I don't like.
Or limited, Limited?
Let's write down none.
None? Okay.
I
This is
think
just a
what you
brainstorm.
heard before was like, some people feel like if we're gonna have it, they want it to be more effective, they want it to be more transparent, but probably more people in here would say no public involvement, and you could ask for a show of hands if you wanted to get a
You need to
feel.
move on.
Okay, I'm gonna take 3 more and we gotta move on.
The
We could be here all
gentleman
night.
in the red top, in the red.
Oh, I just wanted to point out that Spirit and I believe Beechcraft are actually not in the city. They're in the county. That's why the sheriff patrol runs all the strikes. And the reason why is years ago, they threatened to leave town if they were ever incorporated because they didn't want to pay the taxes. So you might want to set up the tax system so that they wouldn't have to worry about being in the city.
To have a tax policy that doesn't discourage investment.
Well, it doesn't encourage redrawing the map around major employers who threaten to leave town because they don't want to be in the city. There's obviously something wrong with your tax system.
Is that a uniform tax policy or?
How about no tax policy? How about getting your taxes out of our supply chain so we can compete in a world economy? How about that? We don't need your stinking taxes. Okay, we're going to bring money back from overseas, and we're going to spend it here, but we can't sell planes if they're embedded with taxes. How about the fair tax?
Here.
How about the
I'm not sure.
It's granting.
Okay, I'm trying to get to a item that I can put down. Are we talking fair tax policy? Are we talking a flat
How
tax?
about a tax-free enterprise zone? Take
Okay.
the map of the continental 48 states and draw that as tax-free enterprise zone.
Okay, 2 more and then that's it. I'm counting off. Anna.
Yeah, I guess just something positive that the Wichita maybe is overall so far doing better on, I guess, is that continuing to allow people to have a lot of different energy options, because I know that in some cities around the country, they're forcing their residents to only be able to use certain types of energy, or maybe just green energy or whatever. But I like the fact that here in Wichita we still have the freedom, and I hope to continue in the future to have the freedom to choose which kind of energy
Okay.
sources.
Continue
You know.
diversified energy policy?
Yeah.
Energy options, yeah. Okay, you're the last one, sir.
I just kind of wanted to reiterate something that was said. As a low-income worker in the Wichita area, I think we've spent enough tax dollars creating more low-income jobs. So I'm in agreement with a lot of people here who want to see more manufacturing jobs.
I think we had that on there, more manufacturing jobs.
But no more not just more manufacturing jobs. They're taking our tax dollars and using them to create low-income jobs. Every time they make one of these shopping centers filled with these little retail stores and such, I don't think we need more of those jobs.
We need more higher paying jobs, is that what you're saying?
But
So
no
that's
more
a vision.
lower paying ones.
Okay.
That's what I'm really getting at.
All right, well, we've got a lot of good stuff here.